Story 1. If there is a noise in or around the house, I have to investigate. Do I want to investigate? No. Do I do it anyway? Yes. Story 2. I had a girlfriend ask why my nose was crooked. I told her I was in a fight and my face hit the road. She asked if I won. It was obvious that no, I did not. I was honest with her, and I could see her attraction to me disappearing in real time. She broke up with me a week later. Story 3. The only thing that is not manly is constantly needing validation from men about whether what you do is manly enough. If I decided tomorrow to paint my nails, order an iced coffee, and buy a Subaru, I would be the exact same level of man that I am now. External validation is not manly. Story 4. People tell me to go talk to random women because that is just what men do. They are pursuers. When we do not. Well, nothing for the majority of guys. I have never met a woman for a date or sex that I did not meet online originally. Story 5. To appear naturally handsome, women use makeup. Men need to appear physically attractive without any visual aids. Story 6. I recently bought a Wrangler that is a bright purple color. I have had multiple people tell me that others will think a girl is driving because a man would not drive that color Jeep. My response to that was, a man drives whatever color vehicle he wants. I cannot imagine being so insecure about your masculinity that you are not allowed to drive something painted purple. Story 7. I am 15. Quite a lot of my friends try to act overly masculine. I have no clue why. They are trying to be more manly than expected of them. I don't know what they are trying to prove or to whom. It just comes across as cringe to me. They are loud, disrespectful, and constantly bragging, qualities that most would consider undesirable. They certainly don't seem to think so, though. Story 8. I feel no pressure to act manly. I am completely straight and not macho at all, but I have nothing to prove to anyone. I just exist and act normal. Story 9. Mate, I just paid £5.50 for a small packet of cheese. I don't have time to feel pressured about being manly. Story 10. Not smoking is considered not manly where I come from. I mean, that is nonsense. I love my lungs, and it has nothing to do with my manliness. Story 11. Being a robot that never needs to be shown affection in relationships drove me crazy because I am not going to be a servant to some stuck-up woman who does not seem to love me and believes I should do it just because of gender roles. The good thing is that there are plenty of women who actually love their boyfriends, and I found one of them. Story 12. I have never felt pressured to conform to a traditional idea of masculinity, and honestly, I do not care how I appear to others. I could not even define what being manly means. I am just me and I like me. As a father of 2 young sons, I worry about the influence of toxic masculinity on them. For Christmas, I wrote each of them a book about my life up to this point so that when they are older, they will have a piece of me even when I am no longer around. In one chapter, I shared fatherly advice, covering what I have been teaching them so far and plan to teach them in the future. I even included a section on what it means to be a man. I wrote that they should ignore the false ideas of dominating others, being tough, and all that alpha male behavior. Whether I am right or wrong, I distilled being a man down to 2 simple principles: treating everyone fairly and equally and, above all, being reliable. I do not know if those qualities equate to being a man, but I believe they represent being a good person. And to this dad, that is all I want my sons to be. Story 13. I used to lift every day because I wanted to be a sexy, super masculine guy. Now I shave my legs and cross-dress, and I am much happier. Story 14. I have severe anxiety and cannot drive as a result. Every woman I meet looks down on me for this, and every woman's parents I meet do too. I also get family members saying they can teach me how to drive, as if that will help with panic attacks and uncertainty. I want to drive. I had my G2 license, but I literally cannot think when I try, and it is unsafe. Story 15. You are often expected to always be ready for sex and never turn it down. If you do, you may be labeled a pornography addict or gay. To be honest, men have things on their minds, get tired, are not in the mood, or may no longer be attracted to their partner for various reasons. You are expected to always be ready to go, and if you are not, you are considered less of a man and a bad person. The accusation of pornography addiction is meant to ascribe a moral failing to not wanting to have sex or not being turned on by your partner. Sexual gratification is placed solely on men. If women are sexually dissatisfied, it is their male partner's fault. If a man is sexually dissatisfied, it is also his fault. There is immense pressure to appear as if you are enjoying it even when you are not, because the threat of a fight or questioning of your sexuality looms if you do not. Additionally, regardless of what happens, men know their partner's friends and perhaps strangers on the internet will hear about their sex life. Story 16. To feed our family and be responsible for them has affected me to such a degree that even enjoying a well-deserved vacation feels like I am wasting time and not being productive enough to support them. Story 17. I believe many men think that saying sorry or admitting they were wrong is a sign of stupidity or weakness. To them, men are not stupid or weak. I, like everyone, have an ego. When I learned to say sorry and admit mistakes, I started gaining more respect and friends. However, there are people who see this and try to take advantage because they view me as stupid or weak. Story 18. When there is a cockroach, I do not want to be near 50 meters of it. What if it starts flying? No. Story 19. Pretending beer tastes good. I would rather have a fruity drink, but everyone starts laughing and calls you gay. Story 20. Pro tip. I do not care at all about acting manly because, 1. It is not authentic. It is posturing. It will harm you both figuratively and literally. I married a woman who loves me for who I am, not what culture and media tell her I should be. I am much happier, better off, and well-adjusted because of it. Story 21. I wouldn't say pressure, but I do get weird looks when I'm pushing a stroller. Like, is this too feminine for you? Story 22. Best thing to do is feel no pressure. Who cares what someone like Jesse Waters says about drinking through a straw? I wonder how he drinks a milkshake. Nothing, especially not anything said by a right-wing extremist, can pressure anyone to act more manly. It is all self-imposed. But then again, I am 70, so I have earned my I don't give a damn badge. Story 23. As a Latino, I am expected to be very social, have children, be a player, and exude masculinity. If not, obviously, I am gay or there is something wrong with me. I have no interest in having children. I am 32 and very single. I dislike socializing. I despise alcohol. I have a bum knee that will always prevent me from doing sports or heavy weightlifting. Outside of being Latino, I was born and raised in the United States. I am only 5 feet 3 inches tall. Most men, and even many women, are taller than me. Because of my small size, a lot of American men like to throw their weight and voice around if they feel threatened by me, usually because they like me and my art. I would rather not fight anyone if I do not have to. Small size and a bum leg probably mean I would get seriously hurt in a fight. Story 24. This post shows how men feel forced to prove their masculinity by doing things they do not want to do, supporting my thesis that conservative males are inauthentic. Story 25. Having to remain calm in any crisis situation to prevent my girlfriend from becoming more upset and making everything worse. Story 26. When it comes to personality, if you are not being authoritative, stoic, and intimidating all the time, some may see you as weak. I am a skinny guy, built like a teenager, and I can assure you that not caring about how others perceive me in the manly department is manly in itself. Will I get beat up if I get jumped? Yes. Will I lower my guard and let it happen? No. I stand my ground even if the other person is stronger than I am. I am only intimidating when I have to be or when I do not want to be involved in unnecessary trouble. If people start problems, my indifferent attitude seems to throw them off because they assume I am ready to fight or argue. People who test and challenge you will keep doing it if you allow them. Stick to people you respect and tell those who do not to leave you alone without getting yourself in trouble. Life is too short to waste on people you think you need to prove yourself to. Story 27. I do not comment on women's bodies with other men. It does not matter age, fame, relationship status, or clothing. I simply do not. I guess that makes me a gay prude cuck. Story 28. The pressure to be stoic in any situation, regardless of how crazy, wild, or dangerous it may be, is intense. On the other hand, we are ridiculed for not showing any emotion at all. Many women tend to get upset because we do not show emotion when they want us to. Emotions do not work that way. You cannot tell someone not to show how they feel and then get upset because they never show it. If we do show emotion, we lose respect for it. Story 29, to be just the right amount of assertive, cool, smart, and to have the right appearance. To say the right things and be part of the right crowd. When I do not meet any requirements, it feels like I am not enough. Story 30. I think there is a lot of pressure to be stoic or easygoing with friends, partners, and others. Emotional expression is met with disappointment at best and ostracization at worst, even in groups that try to encourage emotional expression in men. Story 31. If I can lift something onto my shoulder, then I must. What happens if I do not? I have to carry it uncomfortably in my power zone. Story 32. I don't think it is necessarily pressure, but there is an understanding that as a man, you have a handle on things. If things go sideways, you have plans Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. If they fail, you will figure it out. The pressure comes from within to be such a person. To ask for help is to fail. Story 33. When you have to speak to someone in front of your partner, it can turn into a confrontation. My ex used to provoke me into these situations with men, and it would usually end with me getting very angry, causing a fight between us. It was typically men she had previous relationships with. She would engage in their conversations and then tell me about it. It was difficult, but we were young, so I suppose we can forgive each other for being that way. Story 34. I don't really feel any pressure to act masculine. I just do whatever needs to be done. I think people analyze things way too much. Story 35. I do not have that pressure. Any friend who applies that pressure, I simply ignore. I am a strong advocate of being yourself. Your group of friends will narrow down to those who match you most closely. Story 36. Everyone expects you to intervene when conflict arises. I experienced a situation where a member of our group started fighting with another member and quickly went down. I stood back and watched because I felt he deserved it and I did not want to risk my health over two reckless individuals. For clarification, they were arguing about a parking spot. After that, the rest of the group acted strangely around me and gradually distanced themselves. Sometime later, my mother-in-law talked about my wife's ex and said no one would dare to attack him and his wife because he is physically imposing. I was really disappointed to hear that, especially since my wife and I have been together for over a decade without any serious issues. Story 37. Almost any time someone has asked me to open up or said they would be there for me, and I have been honest about my mental health struggles, those people disappear quickly. They want you to think it is safe to open up, but the moment you are honest, it becomes a burden, so they move on with their lives. I will vent on the internet anonymously, but I will never again tell a friend how I truly feel if they ask. I am always good. Everything is fine, it will be fine, never better. Story 38. I do not keep company that feels the need to pressure me. Manliness is a very dynamic and nuanced subject, and what I describe below is only from my personal perspective. It is a natural state intrinsic to our gender culture, with perspectives varying slightly from person to person, as the core of what is manly tends to be virtues, not performances. Providing guidance, security, structure, and maintaining positive integrity both privately and publicly are all traits of a person who has developed a strong and flexible spirit. Clearly manly traits. Performative, manufactured modern media manly nonsense like brooding, drinking, smoking, fighting, and emotional constipation can often be boiled down to coping mechanisms or chronic escapism, which are evidently not manly. One of the quintessential examples of manliness will always be Uncle Iroh from Avatar, The Last Airbender. A guiding, patient person who learned to be so through the mistakes of his youth and the experience of life. Story 39. My definition of masculinity is taking care of one's family. I feel immense pressure to do this, and I have no idea what happens when I do not, but I do not wish to find out. Story 40. Look up the Ick Notebook on TikTok. As a married man, I have no shame and no concerns if I give the ick, as long as I do not make people uncomfortable. Story 41. I have to lift something heavy for colleagues, friends, or family. I am not physically fit, and I feel doomed to carry heavy things for others. Story 42. I feel like I am expected to be able to diagnose and fix every electrical, plumbing, structural, landscaping, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and decorative problem in the house. I cannot. Having to hire other people to address these issues is disheartening. Story 43. I work at a sports bar in a part of town where all the construction workers and electricians live. I have had people call me fruity for using my eyebrows too much. I do not even know what that means. Story 44. Well, manly can mean different things in different places. In my corner of the world, having pets, especially cats, is viewed as the opposite of manly. I have been told many times that having more than one pet is infantile or childish, while having a cat as a pet is effeminate. I silently tell my detractors to go away. Story 45. I am not opposed to showing emotion to a point, but staying composed when someone is crying or mourning is not easy. Of course, there is the option of joining them, but from my experience, that does not end well. Also, walking a girl home and then having to run back to safety myself because she is just barely more scared than I am. Story 46. A grieving mother is held back as she reaches toward the gravesite that had become her son's vehicle. Unnamed. No. Unnamed. Come back. No. She had just lost her youngest child to an act of terror that was purely preventable, leaving another family torn apart as they witnessed their loved one become part of their Toyota Camry. Paramedics rushed to save the young man's life or attempt to do so. Bystanders crossed the thin yellow line, took photographs, and rushed to inform the rest of the town. Story 47. Having a successful career and being the primary income earner are important. I do not want to find out what happens if I do not. Story 48. I'm expected to know how to cook meat on a barbecue. If no more juices are splattering on the coals, I will call it cooked. If it is tougher than rocks, you only have yourself to blame for saying a real man would not use a temperature reader. Story 49. I do not. Whenever I am pressured by circumstances to act manly, I enact a very twisted and misandrous parody of a man. I am a biological male. However, I hate men as a gender, not male individuals. So I just act like myself. If someone does not like it when I cry, feel vulnerable or inadequate, I remove them from my life. Forever. I identify as a dog. Story 50. I lost my wife to cancer 7 weeks ago. She was only 45. I cry every day and cannot stop myself. When I am at work, I go into the bathroom, lock the door, and weep. If people saw or knew, I would never be able to face them again. Story 51. I will tell you one thing. I have 101 insecurities. Having to constantly act manly to prove I am a man is not one of them. Story 52. Older woman with 3 successful children and an unfaithful former partner. Interested to see how men respond. Story 53. I lost respect for my ex when I alerted him about a tornado warning and he ignored me and went to bed. Then we heard the sound of an approaching train and he raced to the basement. I had to collect my young daughter and follow him down. I have not met any men as courageous and brave as I am since then. Story 54. I have had women pressure me for sex, and when I refused politely, I was called gay or not manly. I was expected to have sex instantly because I am a man, and some women could not understand why a man would refuse them. In their minds, men are just instant walking desire machines. Sometimes there is no chemistry, I have had a bad day, or I am married, or for whatever reason I do not want to. That does not make me less of a man. Story 55. I am 6 feet 3 inches tall and have a resting mean face. Whenever there is any sort of confrontation that might get physical, I am the one who is asked to throw down or mediate. Work, friends, and family all expect this of me. I hate it. I want to pet puppies, build do-it-yourself electronics, and play board games while holding a puppy. I do not want to be the bouncer for everyone else's problems. Story 56. I never feel pressured to act masculine, and I have no fear of what would happen if someone thought I was not masculine enough. I am happy just the way I am. Story 57. I asked my husband, and he said roller coasters. I say he is not a man if he does not ride them. He is right. I do say that. Story 58. If you are a man, everything you do is manly. It is what it is. If people do not like it, they can leave you alone. We hurt, we cry, we laugh, we feel fear, we feel pain, we desire, we love. Yes, we have emotions and we still matter. Story 59. The pressure to earn enough money for my wife and child to live happily with a good education for our baby is overwhelming. If I do not succeed, I do not know what will happen. Story 60. Apparently, I am the one who is responsible for snake and critter removal. It is usually not a big deal, but it is not my favorite task. Story 61. I do not feel any pressure. I am confident enough to tell someone to leave me alone if they have an issue. Forget them. Story 62. Kids' jiu-jitsu class had a Father's Day session where we dads joined. We had to do push-ups. Because I am weak and overweight, I did the modified push-ups. My wife teased me. Story 63. All pressure to be manly, either physically or emotionally, comes from women. If you do not do it, they will stop loving and respecting you as a person, lose any attraction they had for you, and will throw you out. Story 64. I do not listen to people who tell me what is or is not manly, so I feel no pressure to do so. If you want equality, you handle the noise you heard. You deal with the spider you found. You take the rubbish out to the bin. The number one thing I will not do is let a woman tell me how to be a man. When I am not manly, someone else deals with it. Story 65. Being the more successful person, also known as the breadwinner, when dating with great pay and success with women in any industry, is growing. I feel like it is starting to become outdated, but it is in the back of my mind, and I literally turn down dates because she is a surgeon or owner of several businesses. It is unfortunate because we could be a great match. Story 66. The biggest pressures are to dress certain ways. I have been called fruity because of less conventional fashion choices like dyeing my hair, painting my nails, and not being afraid to wear jewelry or more outlandish outfits at times. But I don't let anyone else define for me what is or isn't manly. When I act outside of these norms, most masculine men scoff or make gay jokes. Their wives and girlfriends usually smile and bat their eyes at me, though. Story 67. When you are talking to a girl and she suddenly mentions she is a single mother of 3, and you say that is too much for you, suddenly you are a terrible man. I have a cousin with 6 children and no man in the picture. She still thinks she is going to find one. I am not about to crush her hopes, but realistically, with 6 children, the kind of men who show up are usually just looking for a quick hookup, and then they are gone. There are decent men who probably have similar baggage and would stick around, sure, but they are never the ones she is willing to give the time of day to, so it ends up not matching anyway. Story 68. Everybody expects you to put yourself in harm's way at their whim, no matter the potential consequences or the actual situation. When I don't get harmed. Sometimes the situation demands it, and I do. But people's judgment of what requires my intervention is often not reasonable. Old people, young people, disabled people, smaller men, women, employers, customers, neighbors. People from all these categories have demanded and expected me to fight their often chosen fight for them. Story 69. There is an unstated stigma about standing up for your woman almost no matter what. A waitress being rude to your girlfriend or now wife. You should stick up for her, or it seems like you do not care. This is one of the few times I completely disagreed with her about social expectations. Story 70. When I was a teenager, one time I was driving with my sister and her very temporary boyfriend in the car. He said, "You drive like a grandma." My response then was the same as it would be now. Blow me. I don't care and never did. If you do, you're the fool and everyone knows it. My sister dumped that guy in the very next conversation they had. That's what happens when you act like a coward. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.